What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got Brent Walker. How are you, Brent?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back.
We are glad to have you. We have Joshua Van Cleef. How are you, Joshua?
Better now.
Good.
After technical issues.
Good. This is take two for us. This one has already started off smoother than the last one. We're glad to have you with us tonight. We do not have Alex Devaney Stoner, though, which we are not glad about. But maybe you guys are.
There'll be a lot of more awkward. There'll be less talking over and more maybe long pauses.
Yeah, as long as we don't have too long of pauses, I think that's going to work out all right. But seriously, it will be a little bit different not having him. This is the first show that he's missed, so we'll see how it goes. I'm actually pretty excited for this show. We're going to do a little segment that we're going to call "Be Calm and Trade On," which we're going to talk about some sell highs and buy lows. Before we get into that, we're going to talk a few droppable players, the guys that you guys should feel comfortable getting out of your lineups now and going ahead and dropping completely to make room for players that you're bringing in. Before we get into all of that, though, hop on Twitter, follow us, 4 Horsemen Pod. It's the number 4 Horsemen Pod. Also, send us emails. Same thing, 4horsemenpod@gmail.com. We are still on there looking for those emails, and I will be all over responding to them. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the droppables. Sound good?
Sound great.
Yeah, let's do
this.
Perfect. So I'm gonna name a player, and just one of you tell me if you're good dropping him. First name I got on here, LeGarrette Blount.
Drop his ass.
Get rid of him, right?
Cut his ass.
He played what, 5 or 6 snaps last game? He's gone.
Yeah.
Is there any Philadelphia running back you add right now?
If you're desperate for running backs, like I think a member of this pod is, Darren Sproles might be a worthy running back 3 that you might pick up. He'll get your same amount of points with PPR.
Yeah,
as he done in the past. So
maybe wait and see on Wendell Smallwood. Have that name in the back of your head. Just see if he can do anything.
Yeah, but you see what he barely played.
I know
he barely got anything last week. You hate to see that. He has potential, but I'm not holding my breath on for him.
Yeah, it's probably a backfield that you don't want to have any part of. Next player. Speaking of backfields, you don't want any part of. Bilal Powell.
He played less snaps than Elijah McGuire, the rookie running back last year.
Yeah.
That's rough, especially if you drafted Bilal Powell in the 5th or 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, you don't want. You hate seeing that, especially because people were expecting this to be Bilal Powell's year. You know, he's not expecting much out of Matt Forte, but the rookie has been getting more snaps than he has. So that's a little bit rough. Is he?
I would hold on, or not. Okay, I would say it'd be okay to drop Bilal Powell at this point, but keep him on your watch list. Keep him on your radar for possibly picking him up later in the year because Matt Forte will not last the whole season, so they will have to go to some running back.
Yeah, if you have a deep enough running back core, you can maybe set him on your bench, let it ride for a little bit. But if not, drop him and pick somebody else up.
Perfect. Next name, Eddie Lacy.
No, don't want him.
Don't want him. He was a healthy scratch this week. He's going to be healthy. This past week, he's going to be healthy scratch probably again this week. I don't want anything to do with him.
And he doesn't even look that good.
I feel really bad for him, though. Like all this stuff that I've been seeing on Twitter here lately, how like he's been commenting about every time he gets online, there's a comment about him being fat on there. I really do feel bad for the guy. I hope that he gets his stuff together, but get rid of him. He's not going to be any value of fantasy right now. Hopefully he can get his act together and like it works out for him. But right now, I say drop him completely.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks are going to cut him like people are talking about, just because they know Thomas Rawls will probably go down with injury, and they only have the rookie Chris Carson. CJ Prosise is a guy who's injury too, but he's also going to be more in the passing game than in the running game.
How much better has Chris Carson looked though than any other running back there?
Well, they put the team put him on it. He put the team on his back last week at the end there to get that win. So I mean, he's looked good.
Chris Carson needs to be owned in every fantasy league. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Agree. If he's still on waiver wires, pick him up because he's a starter.
At least own him. You might not start him, but at least own him.
I think he could be a flex start very soon, if not already. But here's a starter that people drafted that I think you can drop: Paul Perkins.
They just don't run the ball. They don't run it effectively. They can't even pass it effectively. So
that offensive line is atrocious.
It's bad.
It is bad. And then Eli on top of that is looking even worse. And with a no passing game and ineffective ODB, that run game is not going to get going. Drop them.
Yep. We'll talk about ODB later. Next player on my list, Eric Decker.
I'd say hold on to him just because Corey Davis got hurt. And
he's actually ruled out for this week.
Yeah, he got ruled out.
Corey Davis didn't see that.
They're playing a very tough Seattle defense this week. You may hold on to him this week, see what happens, but yeah.
But to be honest with you, though, I mean, Eric Decker's coming in a new system. Maybe Mariota and him aren't on the same page, or maybe they don't feel comfortable yet. I don't know. And he's got that. He has Delaney Walker there, who's been a consistent for him. Mm-hmm. That maybe Eric Decker, where he would get the targets Eric Decker would normally get, I think.
Well, that's the thing that I didn't think that Delaney Walker was going to see his same amount of usage as he did last year, which is kind of open the door for Eric Decker, and it's not there. Like, the team still likes Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker still looks athletic and good. That's why I'm okay getting rid of him. If you don't want to carry him anymore, I think that there's other wide receivers out there that can give you more value.
I would agree with that. Yes, there is wide receivers popping up all over that I think can give you better value.
Well, like for example, Corey Coleman broke his hand. He's done for a while. I don't know if they put him on the IR yet, but I'm sure that he's going to be going there. This is the second time he's broken his hand. Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Richard Higgins, is that his name?
Yep.
Richard Higgins.
Richard Higgins.
Richard Higgins.
I wrote down Rashard Matthews, which instantly, as soon as I saw it, I knew it was wrong, but threw me off completely. Do you think that Higgins would be a guy that you'd rather own than Decker right now?
Yes.
I really liked Higgins last year when he was a rookie. I think I had him as maybe a top 6 or 7 rookie wide receiver last year, but he was on the Browns, so he really couldn't showcase his skill set at all, unfortunately. But I really liked Higgins coming out of college, and from my scouting, he looked really good.
Yeah,
he was scouted highly coming out of college. He had a lot of talent. Even Matt Harmon, on his reception perception had him graded pretty high coming out of college and stuff. And so him finally now getting his chance after being cut, signed in practice squad, then called up. It's exciting to see that he finally gets a chance to show off what he can do. So
yeah, and he looks young and good, and Kenny Brett looks old and bad.
Yes.
So I would definitely pick up. I'd rather have Higgins than Eric Decker any day of the week. Next player on my list, Adrian Peterson.
Drop.
I've already seen a lot of leagues drop him, and I still don't want to pick him up. Like, he can stay on free agency. They just don't use him. They don't use him enough.
That you talk about, like you talk to Philly running back core, don't want to mess with. That's one backfield I don't want to touch. Even though, like in one of our leagues, I own Kamara, but it's a dynasty league. Until that thing clears out, I don't know who I want to do. Mark Ingram looks to be the lead back end in that offense, but I don't know if I want any of it.
I'd rather have Ingram or Kamara over any of the guys in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Is that just
I mean,
no? I mean,
say
I guess they're close.
Unless there's an injury to Mark Ingram, maybe AP is then all of a sudden considered an back end RB2. But if that,
he's just gonna yell at everybody.
That's true. Yeah.
Peace, AP. We love you. Your time is great. You're a Hall of Famer, but see you later. Next player on my list, Brandon Marshall.
He looks old and done.
Oh,
and he's on the offense that cannot get it done. So.
Yep, drop. Too many drop balls from him. Yep.
He just does not look like he has it. Next player on my list, Dante Moncrief.
There's no fantasy relevant player on the Colts at this point. So
well, What about Jack
it's
Doyle?
a stretch.
Maybe Jack Doyle is probably the most fantasy relevant player right
At
now.
this point, yeah.
He's seeing the most targets.
But okay, there's a lot of systems out there, a lot of teams that can sustain a wide receiver too. The Colts cannot at this point until Andrew Luck comes back. So it's even volatile to have T.Y. Hilton in your starting lineup at this point.
Yeah, I mean, T.Y. is probably a wide receiver 3 at this point.
Oh yeah, back end wide receiver 3. You don't like that even. Like it's
yes.
You don't feel good about it.
No, I started Chris Hogan over T.Y. Hilton last week, and that actually panned out.
That takes balls, and that is a good start. Like,
yeah, I didn't want to do it, but the way that because I thought, okay, maybe he could be fail safe, because he's going to be the go-to guy. But no, I just couldn't do it, and so I got him in my starting lineup right now, and I don't feel good about it, and I may even change it coming up here.
Yeah, and like we have T.Y. Hilton on our buy low, but while we're talking about him right now, let's just go ahead and get it out there. Like, would you be trying to buy him? Is he a guy that you would maybe target to acquire? He couldn't cost too much, right?
Yeah, he's got to be on the cheap right now to be able to get him. Because until Andrew Luck comes back, that situation doesn't get any better, really. Unless Jacoby Brissett gets better in the system, which it'll take time, and that'll be a long time.
But like on the other side of that coin, if you own T.Y. Hilton, I really don't think you should trade him.
I would say sit tight on him.
Yep.
Just sit tight on him until Luck comes back, if at all. That's gonna be a tough one though.
Unless a good offer comes around or something, but
right. Yeah. Like I don't even know what you would consider a good offer though. Like, who would you be looking at? Like,
because I mean, there's plenty of wide receivers on the waiver wire. There's not enough running backs on the waiver wire.
Well, I was gonna say, like, what if somebody offered you Isaiah Crowell for him?
Ooh. If you're running back needy, then yeah. I mean, it's pretty even though. I mean,
well, say you had LeGarrette Blount and he's on a drop list.
Yeah.
And you needed Isaiah Crowell. Would you take Isaiah Crowell over LeGarrette Blount?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then would you guys then trade, I guess, for T.Y. or trade your T.Y., who can be a potential top 10 wide receiver if Luck gets the thing? Like, so that's a gamble you got to take.
I wouldn't trade T.Y.
We don't know if Luck's even going to make it back.
The team's saying they want to give him early October, but I'm hearing rumbles about late October now.
Man, he's another guy that we have on our buy low that we can talk about right now. But if you're gonna buy him low, shoot an owner a low offer. Do not give up much because Brent and I had talked about this off air. I can see situations where the Colts shut him down for the year regardless, and he doesn't come back. That's a possibility.
If they go 0-5, 0-6, I can see him shutting them down because it's going to be hard to make the playoffs from there because he's going to have some rust on him.
And I don't think that the Colts ever intended them to be ready this early. I think that they've shown it in the past. This is kind of how they handle injuries. They don't want people to be scared off of buying tickets. And I could see it very real possibility with Andrew Luck not coming back. I hope to God he does because the Colts need him. There's probably no player that makes a bigger difference. Because that team from being like fantasy relevant and a contender, maybe not Super Bowl contender, but at least contender for the AFC South, to garbage.
Yes, in a hurry. It's very frustrating when the team did this. Like the team ownership kept it such a secret and kind of played it coy and didn't say, and were wishy-washy on the things. As a Colts fan, it's just very frustrating.
Oh, very frustrating. That was actually all of my list of droppable players. There was a couple pieces of news that I didn't want to do like a news segment, but just a couple players that, but at this point you guys have probably heard. Greg Olsen got placed on the IR, designated to return list. So if you have an IR spot, go ahead and throw him on it. But his backup is Ed Dickson, who was quoted like saying that he would like to see all the targets that Carolina was going to give to old Greg Olsen. You guys have any interest in picking up Ed Dickson?
Not really. I'd have to see it happen before I even consider putting Ed Dixon on a team.
You'd
Exactly.
much rather have Ben Watson, right?
Ben Watson, Jesse James, maybe even like Austin Safarian Jenkins, who's coming off
Yes.
suspension, guys like that. But I also read a report today that he's out of shape. So, but at the same time, the Jets have zero pass catchers, it seems. So, as much talent as they can get on their team, they're going to take. So, they might even throw Austin Safarian Jenkins out there this week out of shape.
God, how many times have we wanted Austin Safarian Jenkins to be good?
Right.
One
This
too
is
many
a
times.
this is a great opportunity, but he's on a terrible team.
It's so
It's like
bad.
it's like fool me once, fool me twice. I can't buy into the hype or anything like that. I wouldn't buy into it to him.
We saw Gronk have a groin injury in this last game. I want to believe that it's not that bad, which they said it's not too serious. I think that he didn't come back because they were handling that game pretty easily. You guys don't have any concerns about Gronk, right?
Nope.
Not raising Dwayne Allen up any higher priority. Maybe it's trying to target if there's a guy that owns him in your league, just seeing this injury.
No,
Nope.
even if Gronk was out, I still wouldn't want Dwayne Allen.
Really?
I
Why?
just can't. I just can't trust him.
He looked terrible in preseason for the Patriots. Like
he
he was dropping balls, missing blocks, and that's
Yes.
usually his specialty. He's
Yeah.
with the Colts, he could catch everything, and he was a great pass blocker and a run blocker, and he couldn't do that in this preseason. So
Even in the first regular season, I think the very first throw it was against the Kansas City Chiefs. Very first pass that Brady threw it to Dwayne Allen wide open and just drops it. I don't trust him.
Maybe it's that first year after leaving the Colts. You saw with Kobe Fleener, he was pretty good with Indianapolis. He leaves, stunk it up his first year with the Saints. But this year, Kobe hasn't looked too bad. That first game he looked pretty good. Bailed out with a touchdown, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't want to own Dwayne Allen anywhere either. So let's go ahead and get into our buy low, sell high, our trade on little segment. I do want to kind of talk to you guys about what your strategy is. We're going into week 3 now. You don't want to panic. You saw if you watched any NFL games this week, you saw broadcasters talking about the dip in percentage of NFL teams making the playoffs. The differences between going 0-2 and 1-1 is like 60% don't make the playoffs. It kind of goes the same for fantasy. You don't want to start off 0-2, but you also don't want to panic, right?
Yeah. A lot of the first 2 games, I mean, because really, to be honest with you, these first 2 games of the regular season is just an extension of the preseason game for a lot of these starters. And so they're just now getting into form and stuff. And so I wouldn't worry, especially your top end players that maybe not be producing like you expect them to, like Le'Veon Bell and stuff. Just give them some time. They'll bounce back for you. 0-2 is not something you can't make up, I think.
Right.
And later on.
But I think at the same time, making trades right now can actually help. You can capitalize on it. You can get some better players, especially if you drafted correctly and drafted well. Your team can be very deep. So depending on your team composition, if you're loaded at running back, you've connected on 4 or 5 of these running backs that you drafted, or 4 or 5 of these wide receivers, you can kind of package a couple of these guys together for maybe a better overall player to help out teams. So I don't know. I like trading early in the season just because of that very reason.
Well,
yeah. Good.
Well, what I was going to say is I feel like you should kind of treat your team the same, whether you're 1-1, 2-0, or 0-2 at this point. Right now is where you should be going after teams that are 0-2 and trying to hit on these buy low players that we're going to talk about. Regardless of where your team's at, you win leagues by making good waiver wire decisions and making good trades and making your team better.
And that's what I mean.
Right
I think earlier on in the season, people hit the panic button a lot quicker than they do later in the season. So that's why I think you can capitalize on trades earlier on than later.
Yes,
right.
I would agree.
So I'm going to go ahead and list off a few names that all of us came up with. buy low targets, and we can just kind of talk about it, and we'll move through the list fairly fast and see if these are guys that you agree with buying low on. Let's go ahead and start the list off on that terrible Giants offense. You have any interest in buying low on OBJ?
I think yes, only because he is an elite level wide receiver that has a proven history of having huge years. And with OBJ, I know he's hurt, but he's only going to be getting more and more healthy. And being an elite level wide receiver, if you can get him on your team now on the cheap, you do it. You just do it. Now, I do go back to what Alex said last year about or a couple weeks ago. He is so hit or miss. Like, he has these 4 for 36 games, but then he also has these 10 for 200-yard games, it seems. So he's either like real low, like low floor, but very, very, very high ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part. He's an exceptional talent, but with the offensive line and the offensive play of Eli, I think those numbers are going to be fewer than even last year. And so it kind of scares me even to buy low on him, although I would rather have ODB than something you're picking up off the waiver wires now at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can't buy low on him, yeah. But me personally, I don't know how much I would want to spend on him.
Right, like don't go offering like high-end players for him, trying to get him on your team. But if you can package up a couple guys that have started off the season decent for him, I would definitely make a 2-for-1 offer to a team that it might be hitting that panic button like we talked about. Next player on the list, DeAndre Hopkins, who really hasn't started out terrible. He caught a touchdown in his first game. He's seen so many targets, like 28 targets or something like that for the first 2 games.
He's getting almost like 50% of the target share with the Houston Texans offensive passing game. Like that is ridiculous. An elite level wide receiver usually gets around 30%. He's almost at 50% of the targets. Yeah,
so you gotta like those odds, and so I would say buy low on him. You can only hope that the offense would get better and it would start to gel a little bit better as well. But like I said, those target rates, something's got to hit more times than not. So
always go after targets. That's
volume is king in fantasy.
Oh, it's such king. Talent's very important, but if there are players that are getting volume, DeAndre Hopkins is a good mix of talent and volume. He's got a rookie quarterback that I was glad to see them start Watson in week 2. I think that's the right move. And I think that he's only going to get better. You kind of saw what he can do as a playmaker himself, like getting out there and making plays for their offense. He's obviously comfortable throwing to DeAndre Hopkins, and Hopkins has had a couple really good catches for him. I think that Hopkins could end the year being a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. So I wouldn't be afraid to give up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I would offer for him.
Maybe another package deal, I think.
Yeah.
For him. But yeah, especially in a PPR league, those targets, you love to see that.
I mean, they're going to him in the end zone too, which is nice. He got a touchdown in week 1. So, I mean, he didn't get a lot of those opportunities last year with the bad quarterback play. So if they can get into scoring position, they're going to Hopkins. Clearly.
Yeah. Last week, Cincinnati's actually a decent defense. Their offense was terrible, but Cincinnati actually has a decent defense. So that was to be kind of expected, with him not getting the end zone.
Yeah.
So better days ahead for Hopkins.
Get him on your team if you can. I want him. Next player, and this guy, I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure if we should put him on the buy low. Ezekiel Elliott. I'm really curious to hear what your guys' opinions are on Zeke.
If people are panicking after it was a horrible, horrible game. The last time he had a game under 100 yards was like his first game of his career. I wouldn't be panicking about Zeke yet. You gotta love that offensive line. I think Denver was able just to dominate him. on the line. They stacked that box, and Denver's a good defense. And I think that they just out schemed them and played them.
I
I don't
completely
think
agree. Yeah, what you said, man, Cleve. Zeke is an elite running back. He had over 100 yards in week 1. He had a terrible game. It was probably the worst of his career. He was ready to set a NFL record in his last game there against Denver. If he would have gotten 80 yards or more, it would have like set a new record for streak of 80 yards or more for a running back. And he bombed. Yeah, what was it? 10 yards? Like,
well, and like
less than that maybe, but
his body language was terrible too. Like,
oh yeah, he just looks defeated with all the stuff surrounding him and everything. Like, I wouldn't, if you can buy low on him, great, but I mean, I wouldn't trade him at all right now.
I was gonna say, if you own him, like you've already gone through all of this mental anguish of not knowing if you're gonna have him, you probably just sit on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because what are you gonna trade away to get him? I don't see any owner panicking on Zeke unless he's going to be suspended, which it doesn't look like he's going to be.
Right. It's the people that, like, especially later in the season, the people that were drafting them were the smarter, I think the smarter teams that were kind of picking them up in the second or third round anyway. So I don't think you're going to get as much value as you would like. Like, you're never going to meet the value that he has.
With David Johnson out, he and Le'Veon Bell are really the only two elite runners in this league that you expect week in and week out. Now, yes, he had a bad game, but I think with you still got to expect bigger things from him. That offensive line is a great offensive line.
Yeah, just don't panic on Zeke yet.
Nope. Next player on my list, Terrell Pryor, wide receiver in Washington.
That whole offense is just kind of weird right now. Like they're running the ball so well.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, even terrible Rob Kelly looked great so far this season, and it's a weird offense. Like, I don't know. They're used to passing the ball a ton, and that's kind of what we expected when we drafted all these guys. But Terrell Pryor is just now, I don't know. Like, he has so much upside. Such a high ceiling, and they're going to him.
Yep.
It's like Cousins just can't quite meet his target, you know.
Pryor dropped a 60-yard touchdown pass in that first game. Like, you got to like what you've seen as far as that goes.
Right.
You might be a little bit worried, like you said, of the run game, but he's definitely going to be a very important piece of that offense.
Hey, yeah, he's going to probably get his targets, but you guys got to remember this passing game lost Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson. You give me a thumbs down,
Bums.
but Pierre Garçon have over 1,000 yards receiving, and Deshaun Jackson could take a top off a defense, and those could be with paired with Kirk Cousins and stuff, and how their offensive scheme went. I also think, they're switching offensive coordinator. They don't have McVay anymore, too. So I think that's why they're going more run heavy on this one. So would I buy low is your question, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
I mean, how is he going to benefit your team right now?
Yeah.
It's not looking good, but
yeah.
For the future, I still want to see what he can actually do in Washington's offense before I even consider trading for him.
If I have a number one and number two wide receiver that I feel confident in starting week in and week out, and he could be my possible number one wide receiver 3, I'd buy low on him.
Yeah. All right. Next player, Russell Wilson. And Josh, I think Van Cleve and I had this conversation. Van Cleve put him as a sell high. I put him on the list as a buy low.
Why sell high?
That's
how
what
high
I said.
is he right now?
Well, I mainly just wanted to sell him though, and Romine actually did convince me, because it's like, yeah, I'm not probably going to get too much for him.
Yeah.
Right now, but like I was also thinking that I could get something for his name, and because you've seen the past few seasons that as the season goes on, he gets better and better.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I basically just don't want anything to do with Russell Wilson. I think that was my main point. Instead of selling high.
Man, I would buy low on Russell Wilson all day. And that's exactly why. And I think I said that to you. I said, you are the reason that I would be going after owners and trying to get him. The name connected to that as well that I want to talk about, Doug Baldwin. I would be eating up any Doug Baldwin shares I could get.
I want Doug Baldwin in every league right now. Like he has such a rapport, and he's just had just these mediocre like games so far these first 2 weeks. And you know he's going to eat. He's going to eat soon. And it's only going to help Wilson. But I think Baldwin is going to be the biggest benefactor. If you get him, he could be your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 even possibly. Like he just has that talent. He's the number 1 in Seattle. So,
and that's what teams were drafting him for. You know what I mean? Like it was finally people were ready to draft Doug Baldwin as this elite option at wide receiver. And it has been years that we've been drafting him as an RB or a wide receiver 3. So I think that this is your opportunity to cash in and get him for probably a little bit closer to what he should have been going for. Like he was going way too high, but you can get a deal on him.
Yes, you can. And Jimmy Graham's hurt now too. We don't know what's going to be going on with him. So it's only going to give more targets to Doug Baldwin. So I'm loving Doug Baldwin. I want him. I want him probably the most out of our entire list.
Do you know who Paul Richardson is yet?
You said Paul Richardson?
Is it only because I've talked about him?
I think it's the only reason why I know him.
He's looked pretty good.
He's injured now. You should sell him high, Roman.
Hey, I'll buy him off you. I picked him up in our league, so I still like Paul Richardson, but I love Doug Baldwin. I think that I have no problem with you going after and offering somebody something mediocre, or maybe have him added in a deal. If you're wanting to work a different angle, add Doug Baldwin in there. So next player on the list, Michael Thomas, another wide receiver that is being drafted very high that has not lived up to the expectations in the first 2 weeks.
He's had all right games, but he hasn't found the end zone yet, which is worrisome. You know, Drew Brees likes to throw the ball, and they don't have a running game right now. Their defense is terrible. So, and from what I've seen so far this season with the Saints, they feel a lot like the Jaguars garbage time team from years past. I just feel like Drew Brees is going to score most of his fantasy points in the fourth quarter this year. And unfortunately, Michael Thomas hasn't eclipsed more than 90 yards or something so far this year, but he's doing all right. But, you know, I'd like to target him just because of garbage time alone.
Yes.
Yeah. He's divvying up that ball all over.
That's all the Saints do, it seems. Like, I really thought more volume was coming Michael Thomas's way, but they haven't changed their scheme a bit.
Nope.
No.
Brandon Coleman.
Ted Ginn, Kobe Fleener.
Yeah. About everybody else besides Michael Thomas, who I thought Michael Thomas was going to be a red zone threat because of his size and how big he is. But, yeah, I mean, if you can buy low on him right now, I think you should do it, because I still think he would be a better option than what you have on the waiver wire.
I almost think you could send a team less in value for Michael Thomas than you could Doug Baldwin right now.
Really?
I would.
Yep.
I think so.
Then that's what I would do. I'd rather have Michael Thomas than Doug Baldwin.
Exactly.
To be honest with you.
Well, because you know that they're going to be throwing the ball consistently, so you like those odds.
I think Michael Thomas is better than Doug Baldwin, just like as like a football skills standpoint.
As a pure wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah, I love what he can do in the red zone, and I love him, like you said, VC, being attached to that offense. I think that it will get better for them. The Saints' defense has always been bad. They are extremely terrible this year, though.
And I thought that they had did stuff in the offseason to bolster that. And no, it's worse than last year.
I blame Adrian Peterson.
It's definitely AP's fault.
It's got to be. That's the only reason I can think of.
Next player on my list, Doug Martin. Hasn't even played a game yet, still suspended. We got him on the buy low list because why, Brent?
Well, I didn't really see much from Jaquiz Rogers. I didn't think he looked all that great, honestly. He got a lot of volume, which is actually a good thing because that's what you want. Yeah, that's what you're hoping Doug Martin is going to receive when he comes back from suspension. Unfortunately, they have that week 1 bye, so it actually pushed Doug Martin's return date back a week. But if you can get Doug Martin, you don't have to worry about a bye week later on. You're going to have him all the way until playoffs are over. Like, you know what I mean? So if you can buy him now on the low side because he's still suspended, that's just 1-2 less weeks that you have to worry about a suspension because people probably drafted him in what, 6th, 7th round, 8th round maybe. But yeah, that value right there that you're getting, you don't have to worry about 1 or 2 of these suspended weeks if you're getting them here in a week or 2.
Yep.
I love Doug Baldwin this year. Like, just
Doug Martin,
not Doug Baldwin. I do love Doug Baldwin too, as I've already made that perfectly clear. I would not trade Doug Martin if I was an owner because, you know, you've sat through 2 weeks now. He looked amazing in the preseason. Like you said, Jaquiz Rogers saw a lot of touches. He scored a touchdown, but Jaquiz Rogers isn't going to overtake that backfield. He's not. I don't think there's anything he could do right now that would take that starting job away from Doug Martin when he came back.
No, I don't think so either. I think they still believe in Doug Martin. I think that's why they invested in him. You know, if I was an owner, I wouldn't trade him away either. I just said on him because you drafted knowing that he's going to be suspended, so you drafted having other running backs that can start before him. So,
yeah, I own Doug Martin in a league that has shallow benches. I think we kind of maybe talked about this before the podcast, but I was offered, I don't even remember what the first offer was, but I kind of was going after Jay Ajayi and thought about offering Doug Martin and Mike Gillislee for Jay Ajayi. Would you maybe want to include Doug Martin in an offer to get up to a better running back? And if you were going to, what kind of running back would you guys be trying to get towards?
Probably a high-end running back 2, maybe a low-end running back 1.
Like who? Give me a name.
Gosh.
You don't have one. So you're basically gonna sit on him then. There's not gonna be a situation where you're trying to flip him.
I mean, no, probably not. I like Doug Martin. I hope he can solidify himself as a starting running back on Tampa Bay because he could be a back end running back 1 for you on a weekly basis, I think. Yeah,
I agree. All right, well let's move to the next name on there. Jordy Nelson. Injured. What did he hurt? His quad or something?
Yeah, he took a knee to the quad, so he left the game early on Sunday night. But Jordy's Jordy. Even in week 1, you saw what he did. He had 7-some catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. That's a very Jordy-like stat, it seems. Like he's going to get his touchdown every week. Because Aaron Rodgers, he throws the ball a ton. So if you can buy Jordy low, I think you do it. Sounds like he's probably going to play this week. He was practicing already again today. So
okay, he was? Okay, good.
He was practicing today.
I read a report that he was 50-50 on playing this week. So
yep, but I think if he's practicing today, he's probably going to end up playing.
If he doesn't play, I feel like this is the week you need to make your offer, though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, if there's any chance that you can buy low on Jordy Nelson, do it. Absolutely do it. Because he's gonna have his. It's just only a quad injury that I think they can bounce back from fairly quickly. But if he does sit out, people are freaking out because if especially those 0-2 teams who have Jordy, they're if they have him sitting out and they can go 0-3, they're freaking out right now. So I would buy up Jordy as much as possible.
Well, same team. How do you guys feel about Devontae Adams? You buying low on him?
I would, based on Cobb and Jordy getting hurt. I feel like that could continue this year if they're playing hurt. Then Devontae Adams is clearly the number 1 there. So
yeah. I think we kind of talked about how Cobb could, come back. I know that I thought that there was a real possibility of him coming back to, the type of player he had been, and Devontae Adams kind of taking a step back. You don't think so, though?
No, I was an advocate for that all off season too, because I knew what Cobb had done in the past. Also, I know they can sustain 2 wide receivers there, though. And heck, almost 3 now if they're all healthy. Rodgers, he throws the ball a ton, so everyone's going to get their own share. But if one of those guys is hurt at any given time, Devontae Adams, his stock will skyrocket. Same thing with Jordy. If one of the other 2 guys is hurt, if Cobb's hurt, whatever. But 2 of those guys are going to get the ball.
Yep. Okay, next name, Jordan Howard. Do you want to buy Jordan Howard?
It's so ugly right now, and I'm not necessarily panicking, but you have to be a little worried because of Tariq Cohen is really performing very well for the Bears. But at the same time, he's not that kind of back that is going to be a workhorse back. Jordan Howard is. I don't know if he's a little banged up with his shoulder or elbow or something, but his arm was in a sling after the game. That's always worrisome. You never want to see that from the guy you invested probably a high second-round pick on. But I know I'm in a league right now where I have Jordy Nelson and Jordan Howard, and that kind of sucks. I'm 0-2 in that one, and I almost want to see if I could package those 2 together to get something in return.
Yep. That's the thing. Like, Jordan Howard, I feel like you could get him for so cheap. Like, I probably could. He is a guy that I would be offering, like, low ball offers on. And maybe offend him, but who cares? Like, if you can get him for, like, bench replacement players, like maybe they're kind of just having a good couple first games, if you can get him as somebody that you can hold on your bench and you don't have to worry about starting him, he's somebody that I would like to have that I could wait and see how it plays out. Because I still think that he's the most talented running back on that team, but it's a very real possibility that he doesn't come anywhere close to meeting that second, third round expectation on draft.
Oh yeah, the hype surrounding Tariq Cohen right now as being one of the top waiver ads in week 1 and 2 is just skyrocketed. And I mean, I get it, but Jordan Howard, he was 1,000-yard rusher last year on a bad team. Nothing's changed. They're still a bad team. So
second leading rusher, like you said, nothing's changed. They have a great offensive line. He's obviously talented. If he continues to be injured, then that's probably a problem. Sammy Watkins. Van Cleve, if you have any interest in buying low on old Sammy, he hasn't really. He kind of has done exactly what we thought he was going to do. The Rams have looked better.
Yeah, I would. I would buy low on him. I think that as time goes on, him and Jared Goff would gel a little bit better. Yes, you have Cooper Kupp there, but Cooper Kupp's, I think, only going to help open that up for Sammy Watkins, because if Cooper Kupp's not there, it's going to be tough. They're going to be double coveraging Watkins or stacking the box. And Jared Goff is looking better as a quarterback. I think he is taking a step in the right direction. So I think it could only get better with Watkins. So I'd buy low on Watkins.
It's amazing what coaching can do for a team.
Oh, absolutely. In the offensive schemes that can fit better players.
Oh, dude, Jeff Fisher was so bad.
Oh, it's the worst.
So bad. Buy Sammy Watkins if you can. If you have him already, don't trade him either. Feel good sitting on and waiting. I think that he's still going to come through. He's a wide receiver 3 on a lot of my teams, and I'm very content with keeping him in that position.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me in that scheme with McVay as coach, who was in Washington last year. I think Cooper Kupp is kind of the new Pierre Garçon, and I think Sammy Watkins is more of the Deshaun Jackson. He's gonna have his 2 catches for 30-yard games, but his ceiling is so high, high, and you can feel comfortable with him as your wide receiver 3 every week, because he will win you weeks. He will win you weeks.
Well, yeah.
As a wide receiver 3.
If you look at the past 2 weeks combined, your wide receivers, aren't really scoring that high anyways, or they're getting, you've only had a couple big games from couple of big name players. Other than that, it's been pretty mediocre for wide receivers across the board. So, I like what in your position, Roman. I love Sam Watkins as my wide receiver 3.
Exactly. How about Brandon Cooks? Kind of another guy that's that high upside that can win you weeks that we kind of expected to be that. And I mean, the first week we saw him catch a few balls for 80 yards. Last week was nothing.
That was bizarre last week. Like 440 passing yards, and he had what, 30?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You wouldn't have expected that, but
no, and that's what catches him on our buy low list, though, I think.
Oh, but that's the great thing about it, though. You could get him so low because people were wondering if he should have been drafted there as a wide receiver 1. In that back end of the second round, he snuck in, and no, you should have been drafting him as probably a 3rd or 4th rounder, even where he should have been even with the Saints, I guess, and. You can get him so cheap now because people might start realizing, oh, maybe I shouldn't have drafted him so high. And, yeah, they're going to panic. See if you can get him low, and maybe he can be your wide receiver 3 or 4 now.
If there was not so many wide receiver injuries there, I wouldn't want him.
Really?
To be honest with you. Yeah. Because if Amendola and Julian Edelman are there, I don't see Brandon Cooks getting his. Like, he's not even getting his in with either of those guys last week.
So anytime you have a player that's starting with a new team, that's kind of how it is. I think that it could be a lot better for the second half of the season. I could still see a couple more games that are similar to these first 2, and I think that you should wait. I don't think that you should make an offer yet, though, because I think that you can get him for even cheaper. But Josh, I think that he is going to come around, especially the second half. I know Alex he's not big on Brandon Cooks at all. He doesn't think he's even good. I think that Brandon Cooks is very talented, has great hands. He's so fast. I saw a stat of Brandon Cooks against corners that are faster than him, that have faster 40 times, and his stats against them are so much worse than corners that are slower. So against slower corners, he's a burner, which when I saw that, I was like, that makes too much sense. It seems like it's too easy of a concept, but it's something that I'm going to look at. If Brandon Cooks is going against slower corners, he's a burner. That's what he does, and he can catch the ball. He is going to have games this season that will win you leagues. And if you can get him as a bench player that you can insert in those games that you think are going to match up well, he's a great wide receiver 3.
Especially in a dome.
Especially in a dome.
But do you honestly think that and taking the top of that doesn't feel or seem like the Patriots scheme or game script that they go with? They do dink and dunks here. They just chip at it, either run. I don't see.
I think that the Patriots are going to do what they have to do to win. I don't think there's necessarily a game script that they will follow.
I guess I get that, but I'm guessing what I'm talking about too is they don't have necessarily a deep threat wide receivers that they usually have on there. I think Randy Moss was the only one that they had, and that was how many years ago?
Yeah, but they've never had a very good one.
I don't think Brandon Cooks is Moss level though. That's the thing.
He's not Randy Moss. Don't get me wrong.
But Randy Moss didn't just wasn't a burner. That's not how he played. I'm just saying I don't see Tom Brady throwing the deep ball often, and that's how Brandon Cooks gets his.
Yeah, I do. I think that's going to come this season.
I think they take their shots though. Like they are a chain moving team. They run the ball when they have the lead, but they take their shots down the field when they need to. Like Brandon Cooks is an expert at that. That's for sure.
All right, I still have a few names that I want to get to before we go to our sell highs, but I won't go through these next ones quickly. So you guys just tell me yes or no if you are buying low on them, okay? Demaryius Thomas.
Yes.
I would. I wouldn't necessarily say he's too low right now. He's just been kind of like mediocre, very much like Jordy or Doug Baldwin right now. They're putting up stats, just pretty mediocre right now, though.
Isaiah Crowell.
No.
Ugh. It's so tough. They want to run the ball more. They keep saying that, but he's not running the ball effectively.
Better days are in store for Isaiah Crowell. I buy low on him, but don't give up anything for him. Get him for nothing if you can. Yeah. If you can't, just let him stay. AJ Green.
I'd love to, but Dalton's terrible this year.
Dude, if you own AJ Green, don't get rid of him. But pray to God that Andy Dalton figures this out, and because he hasn't so far. This might be the week that he doesn't. Could be.
That's tough pill to swallow, especially with you drafting AJ Green in the first round, like people have been doing.
Oh,
so
I drafted AJ Green in the first round so much, and I felt so good about it. Andy Dalton is really screwing up my mojo right now, but I think that they will figure it out and turn it around. At least that's what I'm praying. Hopefully, Joe Mixon.
Yes.
Oh,
it's gonna happen soon too. Like I just have this feeling.
Get Joe Mixon for nothing right now and do it this week. Do it now because he is going to have a breakout game soon.
He's seeing more snaps. He's seeing more rushes, seeing more catches every week that goes on. Get him now if you can.
I have gotten to watch, I've been looking for Joe Mixon film tape. I will get on Twitter and search and try to find, plays of him. He looks so much better than his box score puts out. I think that he is a gamer. Go out and get him for nothing and put him on your bench and wait for him to break out.
His stats haven't been great, but with that offense being as terrible as it is, look what he's doing. He's still putting up good stats with a terrible offense. So
yes,
get him now while you can.
How about LaShawn McCoy? Terrible last week.
Hold on to him.
Yes, hold on to him. I'd buy him if you could buy him low. Yes.
Yeah, right.
He gets so much volume.
So much volume.
Yeah, don't sell him if you own him because he's all that Buffalo has. Poor Tyrod Taylor. God, if he only had weapons, he'd be a boss. And the last name on here might be the best player in fantasy football left healthy right now. Would you be going after Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anybody out there that's scared of what they've seen so far?
Yes.
You
can't feel comfortable with what he's doing. You expect him to put up big numbers. He will have his day though.
I mean, just look at logic. He missed out on all of training camp, so now he's getting his feet back under him, and he's only going to get better.
That's the thing, and I think that he is going to tear up the second half of the NFL. He missed games last year for a different reason. These first two games are him knocking rust off. If you can acquire him, he will win you leagues. So throw offers out there. Don't be afraid to do it. But if you own him, do not be scared because better days are definitely in store. He's the best running back, probably left healthy in the NFL right now.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Let's move on to our sell highs. And I don't want to spend as much time as we did on buy lows because I feel like better owners are going to be looking at the buy lows and not necessarily at those sell highs. I don't really like selling high unless I'm taking advantage of somebody. And so far, even on our list, there aren't a ton of guys that you're able to sell super high on right now. I think that you're still trying to figure it out. But there are a few players I want to talk about. And Marshawn Lynch. Brent, do you think that there is an opportunity to sell high on him right now?
In redraft leagues, I think you could. He's showing enough promise and a high-powered offense that I really think you could. Dynasty, I wouldn't touch him.
No, I wouldn't touch him in Dynasty.
He still looks fresh. He doesn't look like he's running old, but he's old. So you don't know how long it's going to last. So there's that unknown. But he's actually performing pretty well with the touches that he's been given. So
I feel like his value is only going to go down from here, though.
Yes, probably.
Yeah,
and I think that you could still get some sort of value from him. I would be going after an owner that kind of is more on namesake and try to get something better for Lynch. Melvin Gordon.
I wouldn't sell him. He gets so much volume on even – they're losing a lot of these games, and he's still getting a ton of volume rushing and passing. So I wouldn't sell him.
I I maybe for redraft I wouldn't sell him, but I think for dynasty I would.
Why?
Why? Because yeah, he's getting volume because he's the only running back there, but he's not necessarily producing he's not a great running back. He's saving you because of his volume. I can see them maybe looking elsewhere in some future.
I mean,
I don't know.
what would you get in return though for a Melvin Gordon who's getting 25 touches a game? Like if he's not producing in the running game, he's usually producing in the passing game with a touchdown, or vice versa. If he's not doing the passing game, he's producing rushing with a touchdown. So he's getting you production combined somehow, some way. And I don't know what you can get in return. Selling him high for, even a Le'Veon Bell. I mean, you would have to get a better running back in return somehow, I would think.
Well, we talked about it. Maybe people are freaking about Zeke or Le'Veon Bell. Maybe you can package maybe a bench player plus Melvin Gordon for Le'Veon Bell right now, or something that's
yes.
You wouldn't.
That's a great idea too. I like that.
Like that.
You might not even have to give anything more. Maybe just go after Melvin Gordon strip for Le'Veon Bell to the right owner. That could work.
I mean, just that. I mean, think about it, because Melvin Gordon is outproducing Le'Veon Bell right now. But in the end, I love Le'Veon Bell better than Melvin Gordon.
Go home, do it right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna name 3 running backs here, and I feel like you could maybe use all of these in deals to acquire Le'Veon Bell. And you guys tell me if you would. Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson, Ty Montgomery.
All 3 guys are doing awesome right now.
Yep.
And all 3 guys are also actively involved in the pass game. So it's increasing their value. And you could sell those guys high right now. You really could. Someone's going to take them because of the way they're performing.
It's scary selling high on running backs, though.
It is.
The thing of it is, too, is there are a lot of teams that are running back needy right now with the amount of injuries that there are. You can definitely, I think you can sell higher on running backs than you can wide receivers. I feel there's a lot more options on the waiver wire for wide receivers. So I think you have a better potential to sell high on a running back right now.
So right now with C.J. Anderson and Ty Montgomery specifically, you were drafting them probably as your running back 2 in the 5th, 6th round, right?
Yep.
I would assume. So if they're your running back 2 right now, you're feeling pretty damn good, I would hope.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to sell them high, though?
Right. No.
What could you get in return is what I would be wondering,
Right. And that's the thing. Like, the only way that I'd be selling these players is if I was getting, like, a Le'Veon Bell type player. And even I probably should include these next 2 guys on my list, Carlos Hyde and Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, same exact kind of scenario. Like,
I would definitely sell high on Carlos Hyde because we've seen this time and time again where he has great games and then he'll get hurt.
Yeah, which is such a shame because he has looked good, and I love the way that they're using him.
Well, the thing of it is, it's a shame because he is a talented back. If he stayed healthy, I think he could be one of those elite backs.
Yeah.
Honestly, because he has a lot of talent as a running back.
Unfortunately, I just don't think he's ever going to stay healthy. I think that's just kind of who he is.
So, I mean, that would be another good one. I think you could flip Carlos Hyde for Le'Veon Bell and maybe add something on to Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, you're going to have to put something with him, but go out there and try to get that done. I do have one more running back on there, Mike Gillislee. Would you guys be trying to sell him, or do you think he's going to score 18 touchdowns and be that Lynch? He's definitely looked like the Lynch in that offense so far.
You mean the Blunt?
Yeah, Blunt,
or the Lynch, or the I mean, you could say Lynch.
Same
I guess,
thing.
But
the Blunt in the New England offense, like 18 touchdowns.
Just when I think no, there's no way, then he scores another touchdown the next quarter. Like it's not a sustainable pace at all, not at all. That's why you should sell Mike Gillislee.
Yes,
yeah,
but it's the Patriots, so you don't know. You just don't know. Like, he could easily score whatever he's projected, 29 touchdowns or something this year. Like, it would be crazy. But
I think you can make an upgrade at running back with packaging Gillislee with somebody else. I say you do that. even though you may get 18 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think if you have the chance to sell Mike Gillislee, because you probably got him later on in like the 7th or 8th round, so he was probably your running back 3 or 4, and you might not even need him. Package him with someone else. See if you can get a much better running back to put in a flex spot, or running back 1 or 2 even.
Yep, I agree completely. I did have 3 more names on the list, and these names are not sexy. They're not exciting, so I don't really want to talk about too much, but you guys tell me if you're selling Jeremy Maclin. Is he a guy that you think you could get value on?
I would maybe put him in a package deal. You wouldn't be able to get anything for him straight up, though.
Add Jeremy Maclin to Carlos Hyde and try to get somebody great.
Probably not Le'Veon Bell, but I mean, if you can do it, great for you. But
would you even? I don't even know. Use him as an add-on because I don't want to have Jeremy Maclin for the rest of the season. Jason Witten, same thing.
Yeah, kind of the same. I mean, if you own Jason Witten, it's probably off the waiver wire anyway.
Like, talk about guys that have looked great though. Like,
oh gosh,
I publicly ridiculed a guy that's in a league of mine at work the other day because he traded for Jason Witten. And what does he do? Comes out and gets freaking targeted 1 million times, scores. Like, the dude's looking ridiculous. Sell him if you can, though, because it will not continue.
Nope.
Matthew Stafford. Brent, you put him on this list, I think, right?
Yeah, he's just looks so good so far. Yeah, like he's looking like the top paid NFL player right now. Like, I know he's not going over 300 yards, but he's getting the touchdowns. He's being efficient with the ball.
He's looking like a great NFL quarterback, not necessarily a great fantasy option. I'd sell him. That would be a guy you can package in with somebody else.
Right, you could sell him easy, I think.
Yes, I think you could too.
Because there's probably someone on the waiver wire, with it being a quarterback, you might be able to get that production in return. But
well, I was going to say, or maybe even take Matthew Stafford and package him with another waiver wire player that's done well for like Aaron Rodgers. Like, try to give another team depth.
Yeah.
That's probably the route that I'd be taking.
Do like a Stafford and a Gillislee for Aaron Rodgers, or
Yep. I'd be okay with that. But that is our list. So this has been a lot of information to process, but I think that now is when you need to start preparing yourselves to make deals. And I think it was pretty evident in everything that we say. Most of these players we're going to be attacking and trying to buy low on, or packaging and trying to get better. The point of trading is to make your team better, right? Whether that is with adding depth or improving yourself at a position. I tend to lean towards trying to 2-for-1 somebody. I like to get the best player because I like to make my team instantly better. And I have faith that I can find players on the waiver wire that will fill those bench spots or fill those other spots. So if I can get rid of 2 players for somebody that is way better, that's what I'm trying to do. Agreed?
Agreed.
So I have started out 0-2 in a few of my leagues, 1-1 in a lot. It's been all over the board. Don't panic. Get out there, make deals, though. Treat your team the same way right now. The season is definitely not over. If you're going to have talented players on your team regardless, at least hopefully you've drafted some talented players. So make something happen. Stop out. Follow us on Twitter, Horsemen Pod. Send us emails. We will be back again next week. Hopefully it will be all 4 of us, but I can't make any promises for the other guys. I will definitely be here. Thank you for stopping out and listening. Talk to you guys next week. Peace.
Later.
Bye.